The vagus nerve is one of the most important nerves in the human body, connecting the brain to important organs such as the heart, lungs, and digestive system. It's also involved in the body's immune response and plays a vital role in stress and inflammation. In order to regulate all of this, the vagus nerve needs detailed information of both what's going on the inside of the body as well as in the outside of the body. And in this video, we'll be showing you how to utilize the sense of smell to help stimulate the vagus nerve and therefore gain some benefits with regards to stress, inflammation, digestive issues, and anxiety. So why is it that your sense of smell would affect the vagus nerve in the first place? Well, to answer this, we're going to take a look at some of the different organs and the role smell is going to play in regulating them. First and most obvious is going to be the lungs, as the organs for smell are located in the nose, and the nose is also very commonly associated with breathing. As we breathe through our nose, our sense of smell gives our brain detailed information about the air around us and its quality. And most of the time, something that smells bad is usually something that disagrees with our body. It smells bad because our brain has already decided this is a chemical that doesn't sit well with us. That can be because of something it remembers, or it could just be a genetic predisposition to associate this particular chemical as bad. Now, if this smell is strong enough, our brain is probably going to ask us to try and breathe a little bit less, as it's pretty likely that the quality of the air coming into our lungs is reduced. And if we try to bypass this sense of smell and breathe through our mouth, our brain doesn't tend to like that at all. It usually gives us a ton of stress and inflammation to just try and stop us moving around so much so that we can't do so much damage. If you're curious about this, I highly recommend James Nestor's book, Breath. In the opening chapters of that book, he talks about an experiment he did where he had his nose completely plugged up, was forced to breathe through his mouth, and the effects that had on his body. And so in this scenario about the air quality, our brain also links our smell to our memory. Smell actually has a really close link with the systems of the brain involved in memory, and it helps the brain decide whether the environment that we're in is an environment that we were previously in before, and it wants to measure up and figure out, well, how did we feel about it last time? Did good things happen? Did bad things happen? When we smell that smell, our brain wants to link it up with a previous experience as quickly as we possibly can. This means that our sense of smell is also going to be related to our heart rate. If a smell was associated with a previously stressful experience, our brain is going to raise our heart rate, raise our stress levels, and get us into that fight or flight mode so we are better able to protect ourselves if the same thing is about to happen again. And while the same smell is not always a predictor of the same set of circumstances, the brain always acts under the principle that it's better to survive than to be curious. Another example of this is with our digestive system. Some of the fondest smells that we're probably going to be able to recall are smells involving food. And this is because the brain uses our sense of smell to get information about what could potentially go in our mouth before it does. Again, so it can make a judgment on whether or not this is a good idea, but also to some degree, it acts as a signal to the entire rest of the digestive system to say that food is coming in, as well as giving an inclination of what kind of food that might be. So the correct digestive enzymes and bacterias and all of the entire gut microbiome can organize itself in the right way to help us digest food better. In this series of videos that we're doing about the vagus nerve, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the digestive system and digestive issues. And if you're finding that you are having these issues very often, the problem can be something at the start of the chain that just isn't kicking everything else into gear. So it could be your smell, your taste, your jaw, your tongue. We'll be going through each of those in detail and showing you just how you might want to utilize and train them to see if that actually makes a difference to your digestion. So with all of this in mind, how can we actually use our sense of smell to influence the function of the vagus nerve? And the first thing that you can do is just to make sure, as often as possible, you're breathing through your nose and not through your mouth. Your sense of smell is not something that you can consciously switch on or switch off. And when you are breathing through your nose, you're going to be stimulating the olfactory nerve. That is the nerve that is supposed to pick up the chemicals to produce your sense of smell. And so if you are not currently nasal breathing and you switch to nasal breathing through all or at least the vast majority of the day, what you're going to find is that as well as breathing through your nose, you're also going to be utilizing your smell much more often than you previously were. Now, in addition to this, nasal breathing has a ton of other benefits when it comes to your body's health in general, as well as with the vagus nerve and the immune system. We'll cover that when we start talking about the lungs and breathing. But this really should be the most important thing that you do for training your sense of smell, is you switch to nasal breathing right away. So the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to incorporate a program of actively training your sense of smell. Now, this can be broken down into two parts. We're going to look at identifying smells, so being able to actually tell what they are, and noticing smells, so actually being able to tell when the smell in a room has changed. And before we get into both of these, it's also worth noting that the olfactory nerve, that's the nerve I was talking about that sits up in your nasal cavity, produces your sense of smell, is replicated side to side. So you have one on the right side of your body, one on the left side of your body. This is important because if your sense of smell is contributing to vagus nerve problems such as digestive issues, anxiety, inflammation, stress, anything that we've talked about already, it may be that it is the sense of smell on only one side. And when you do all of your smell training throughout the day using both of your nostrils, you might actually just be keeping the system going how it is. You're training the stronger one to compensate for both sides and making it better, while the other one feels comfortable to just chill out and do nothing because the other side nostril is doing all the work that needs to be done. And like I said before, if you're experiencing problems further on down the chain, whether it's in your breathing, your heart, your digestive system, if you're not able to address those issues right at the beginning, sometimes it's very difficult to affect change further on down. So when we look at these training exercises, you just want to test by covering over your right nostril and trying these exercises with the left one only, and vice versa. You want to find out, are you better at identifying smells with one side over the other, or are you better at noticing smells on one side or the other? It could be one, it could be both. If you find one side is better than the other, then you're probably going to want to spend a period of your day with that better side plugged up. Just a roll of tissue, something like that, covering over that nostril so that you can spend some time telling the other one to start doing some work, start picking it up its share of the weight. And so from here, you're going to want to start practicing smell identification. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's just eyes closed, have a smell come into the room, and you want to identify and figure out what that smell is as quickly as possible. Easiest way to do this is with food. Herbs and spices can be especially easy. They all have very distinct smells. They can be identified. They've got a specific name. You want to get as good as possible at being able to draw them out as quickly as you can. This is going to be really effective in letting your digestive system know what kind of foods are potentially going to be coming in, and the quicker you can do it, the quicker everything can kick into gear and get into action. Now, you can do this without food as well. There's loads of different types of aromatherapy oils that can mimic all sorts of ridiculous real life things and real life smells, and you can put yourself to the test and seeing if you can identify each one. This can be really good for things like anxiety. If your brain can identify what specific things are in your environment, then it tends to be a lot calmer when it comes to dealing with the world around you, because there are fewer surprises in the immediate area. And this brings us to the second thing that you can try, which is noticing smells as quickly as possible. Now, this one's a little bit harder to train because, especially if you're using something like an aromatherapy oil or things like that, as soon as you open those things up, they tend to just infuse into the air. But the idea would be to see how far away you can smell something. Pick something with a strong smell, hold it close to your nose, start moving it further and further away. As I said, The longer these things are usually in the air, the stronger the smell they have. They usually tend to just fill up the air anyway, so it can be a little bit hard to train it specifically. But one thing that you might want to look into is the idea of mindful smelling. So choose a specific 10 minutes in your day where you're just going to pay attention to everything you can smell as precisely as possible. So if you're walking through the street, you want to be able to identify as many different smells as possible. You don't necessarily need to be naming them, you just need to know every single time the smell changes. And the more slight the change you're able to identify, again, the better the brain is going to be able to process what's going on in your environment, decide whether it's good or bad, and this is going to help calm you down significantly. So that's it for this video. Those are our thoughts on using smell to stimulate the vagus nerve. Have you tried training your sense of smell before? If so, what did you use? Did you see any results? Please let us know. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and if you found any of this interesting and you are interested in taking a deeper dive into your brain and body, you may be interested.
The Neuroband is a wearable training tool that helps to develop speed, accuracy, and skill by following basic neurological techniques. It uses vision and balance exercises to train the brain to process information faster and more accurately, giving you more time to coordinate and execute movement, apply strength and flexibility, or take aim at a target. The Neuroband comes with two 15-minute workout programs designed to train your brain and nervous system using easy-to-follow exercises that can be done anywhere and anytime, making it the perfect addition to your training routine. So whether you're an athlete looking for an extra 1% or trying to stay focused at work, experience the difference with the Neuroband and take the first step towards improving your performance today. You'll find a link to the Neuroband in the video description. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.